The sea otter. Right now, on the surface of the cold North Pacific, there's an animal carrying more hair than 10,000 humans put together. Humans have around 100,000 hairs on the entire head. A single sea otter has roughly 1 billion, all packed onto a body that fits across your lap. And it has nothing to do with showing off. Lose the coat for 10 minutes and the otter is dead. Up to 1 million hairs per square inch sit on the forearms and chest, the densest fur of any mammal on Earth. If a human had sea otter density, a 1/4 inch patch of your scalp would hold every hair currently on your head. 1 million hairs per square inch, and the only mammal that comes close is also an otter. Most people assume sea otters have thick blubber, like seals or walruses. Turns out they have almost none. Under 1% body fat by some measures. The fur is the only thing between them and the water. Most marine mammals went the blubber route. The otter pushed fur density to the physical limit of what skin can grow. Nature looked at blubber and said, no thanks, give me 1 million hairs per square inch and a full-time grooming job. The fur isn't really insulation in the normal sense. It traps an air layer against the skin so thick that water never actually touches the otter's body. The animal is walking around in a wetsuit it grew. The otter's job description basically is be hair, also catch shellfish. It's the only animal on the planet whose fur is also its life support system. The Vicuña. There's a fiber out there rarer than cashmere, finer than mohair, more expensive than gold by weight, and it grows on a wild animal that lives at elevations where commercial planes cruise. Royalty wore it. The Inca Empire executed people for poaching it. A single sweater still costs more than most cars. The animal looks like a long-necked cousin of the alpaca, almost dainty. The hair on its chest is the reason a tiny fraction of the world's clothing budget passes through one species in the Andes. And it grows that hair on a diet of grass that would starve a cow. Vicuñas live at 12 to 16,000 feet. Their fiber clocks in around 12 microns. Finer than the finest cashmere. Each animal yields only about half a pound of fleece, and they can only be shorn live every 2 to 3 years under strict legal protection. Imagine a sweater so expensive the animal it came from has to be returned to the wild after. 1 vicuña, half a pound of fiber. 1 sweater takes 4 to 5 vicuñas. A men's vicuña overcoat retails for around $20,000. And the supply chain is exactly that limited by design. The fiber works at altitude because it's hollow. Trapped air inside each strand makes it impossibly warm and impossibly light, which matters for an animal already running on low oxygen. The Inca's poaching penalty was death, and frankly, $20,000 overcoats suggest that punishment is still working out for someone. An animal half the size of a deer somehow ended up in the world's most exclusive supply chain, and it has no idea. Every coat is a contract with a climate, and the harsher the winter, the longer the contract. If you're enjoying animal deep dives like this, I post new ones regularly, and subscribing really helps. Thanks. The yak. There's a place on Earth where the air pressure is half what you're breathing right now, and the temperature drops to 40 below. People live there because of one animal, the yak. Nothing else carries enough wool to make a tent that doesn't kill you. The yak's hair isn't just long, it's 2 completely different fibers stacked on top of each other, and the inner one competes with cashmere on the global market. Most people who own a yak wool sweater are wearing the wrong layer. Yaks live on the Tibetan Plateau at 15 to 20,000 feet. Their guard hairs reach the ground, sometimes over 2 feet long. Underneath sits a soft underwool called kulu, 15 to 19 microns, comparable to fine cashmere. Imagine a cow with floor-length hair and a permanent bad attitude about it. Yaks live in territory where the air is roughly half as thick as what you breathe. Their guard hairs drag an inch of fabric across the snow with every step. Some wild yaks survive temperatures of 40 below Fahrenheit, in conditions a sled dog would refuse. The 2-layer coat is doing what high-end Arctic gear designers spent decades trying to copy. Long guard hairs block wind. Dense underwool kills convection at the skin. The ground-length skirt turns the animal into a heat-retaining cylinder instead of a heat-leaking shape. Despite the marketing, most yak wool garments use the coarse, scratchy guard hair. The actual prize fiber is the inner kulu, hand-combed from the animal in spring. The common version of yak wool is the wrong layer entirely. Every other large mammal said no thank you to 15,000 feet. The yak said hand me the rope. There is no other large mammal alive that voluntarily lives where the yak does. The koala. Australia is mostly known for things that can kill you. The hairiest animal on the continent is a cuddly-looking marsupial that sleeps 20 hours a day. The reason it can pull that off is hidden in one specific piece of its anatomy, the rump. A koala's fur is denser on its butt than anywhere else on its body, and there's a precise life-or-death reason. It's not because the koala likes to sit down. The fur on the rump runs around 55 hairs per square millimeter, among the densest of any marsupial. They live wedged into eucalyptus tree forks, sleeping with their hindquarters facing the sky and their heads tucked down. Imagine being so committed to a bad diet that the entire shape of your body had to grow a built-in cushion. If a human had koala rump density, you'd need a wire brush to push through the hair on your lower back. Their fur traps so much air that a soaked koala still has dry skin underneath. It's also waterproof enough to handle Australian winter rain at altitude in the Great Dividing Range. Here's the thing the rump fur is actually doing. The koala's main aerial predator is the wedge-tailed eagle, which can take animals up to 15 pounds. Koalas weigh 10 to 30. When a koala wedges into a tree fork with its butt up, that dense fur smooths its outline against the bark. From above, even a hunting eagle can have trouble telling a sleeping koala from the tree. The animal is solving the one direction it can't see, directly above its head. Most people think koalas sleep 20 hours a day because they're stoned on eucalyptus. Turns out, their diet is metabolically catastrophic. Eucalyptus is so low in usable energy and so loaded with toxins that the koala spends most of its day not moving simply to stay alive on the calories it can extract. The dense fur is part of the same survival package. Keep heat in, move as little as possible. Everything else on this continent is trying to kill you. The hairiest one is just trying not to fall out of a tree. Its survival strategy is mostly be too inconvenient to eat. The colobus monkey. There's a monkey in the African rainforest with hair so long down its sides, it looks like it's wearing a cape. Local hunters used to kill it specifically for that hair. The fur was so prized in 19th century Europe that the trade nearly wiped the species out. The colobus doesn't just wear long hair for show. The hair is doing real work mid-air. Watch one leap 50 feet between branches and you'll see what. The long mantle, the white cape, runs from shoulders to thighs, sometimes over a foot long. The body underneath is glossy black, with a long white tail tassel that fans out when the animal moves. They live in dense canopy forests across Central and East Africa. They leap up to 50 feet between trees, falling more than gliding. The mantle hair runs over a foot long on an animal whose body is only about 2 feet tip to tail. A colobus leap covers 50 feet, roughly the length of a school bus in one jump, between branches that flex. They make that jump dozens of times a day, and the cape is part of the gear. When the monkey leaps, the long mantle fans out like a partial wingsuit, generating drag that softens the landing and adds a small measure of mid-air control. It's not true gliding flight, but it's not nothing either. Primatologists studying canopy locomotion have measured the difference. It looks like a monkey wearing a luxury throw blanket and refusing to take it off. Long, light hair adds surface area without adding mass, a decent passive solution to mid-air instability for an animal that needs to move fast through three-dimensional space. Leopards and crowned eagles are both threats. Staying high and moving fast is the survival strategy. The cape also doubles as a social signal. The high contrast of black body and white mantle is visible across long sightlines in dense forest, which is part of the cost. The same hair that softens the landing makes the monkey easier for leopards to spot. Researchers spent years arguing whether the cape actually helps the monkey fly. The colobus, presumably, did not weigh in. It's the only primate on Earth that figured out a coat could double as a wingsuit. The Highland Cattle. Most cattle break down in cold rain. They get pneumonia, they lose weight, they need shelter, hay, dry bedding. There's one breed in Northern Europe that survives Scottish winters outside, year-round, in horizontal sleet, and it does it because of its hair. The Highland cow's coat looks ridiculous. Long, shaggy, hanging in its eyes. The reason it looks that way is also the reason it shrugs off weather that would kill almost any other cattle breed. The coat is double layered. Long, oily outer guard hairs on top, short, woolly undercoat below. The hair over the eyes, called the dosin, shields against horizontal rain and biting flies. They carry less body fat than most beef cattle because they don't need it. The breed traces back to the 6th century in Scotland, and they've been doing this on the same hills the entire time. The breed grew into a cow wearing a yak costume, and Scotland kept it. This breed has been doing exactly this for over 1,400 years on the same hills. It survives in the Outer Hebrides, where the wind blows continuously off the North Atlantic for entire seasons. Scottish weather averages over 200 days of rain a year, and Highland cattle don't require a roof for any of them. Cold rain is more dangerous to most mammals than dry cold. Wet fur loses almost all insulating value once the air layer between hairs collapses. What separates the Highland isn't thicker hair, it's the oiliness of those outer guard hairs. Rain sheds off before it can soak through. The undercoat stays dry, the air layer holds. The animal stays warm in conditions that would kill a Holstein in days. The bangs aren't a hairstyle. They're functional rain visors. The cow has better outdoor gear than most hikers. The breed never needed a barn because it brought the barn with it. Hair never just grows. It always has a job. And the job tells you what the animal is afraid of. The Antarctic Fur Seal. Antarctica is the coldest continent on Earth. Almost every mammal there solved the cold problem the same way. Blubber, blubber, more blubber. Whales have feet of it. Seals have inches of it. There's one exception, and it solved the problem with hair so dense that humans almost wiped it out for that hair in the 1800s. 300,000 hairs per square inch. That number gets thrown around for a lot of animals. For the Antarctic fur seal, it's measurable. And the reason it has to be that dense is the same reason its species was hunted to near extinction. The architecture matches the sea otters. Coarse guard hairs on top, dense underfur below. They breed on sub-Antarctic islands like South Georgia. They're eared seals, otterids, which is why they can rotate their hind flippers forward and walk on land. The fur was so good at its job that humans decided to kill the entire species over it. Their underfur density is roughly 30 times what's on a human scalp, packed into 1 square inch of seal. Sealers in the 1800s killed over 1 million Antarctic fur seals in less than a decade for that fur. The species came back from an estimated population of around 100 individuals, a comeback driven entirely by the value of the hair that almost ended it. The outer guard hairs shed water. The underfur is so dense that water can't reach the skin. When a fur seal hauls out on a beach in 50-mile-per-hour wind, the air layer trapped against its skin keeps it warmer than the air around it. Most Antarctic mammals lost external fur in favor of thicker blubber. Fur seals took a different path. They kept the dense fur and added a moderate blubber layer underneath. The double system lets them haul out on land, breed in colonies, and dive for krill in sub-zero water. Turns out, fur seals aren't seals in the strict sense. They're more closely related to sea lions than to harbor seals or elephant seals, which is also why the dense fur strategy works. They spend more time hauled out than true seals do, so external insulation pays off. Nature gave one Antarctic mammal a luxury coat. The luxury market noticed. It's the only animal whose fur quality nearly cost it everything, and is now the reason it survived. The musk ox. There's one animal still walking around on this planet that survived the last ice age, watched the woolly mammoth go extinct, and wears a coat 8 times warmer than sheep wool. It's not the longest guard hair on the list, it might be the warmest hair per gram on Earth. Every spring, that fiber comes off in clumps, big clumps. They can be picked off bushes by hand. Some Inuit communities have built an industry out of collecting it, and a single sweater made from it costs more than most people's monthly rent. Musk oxen live on Arctic tundra. Greenland, Canada, Alaska, reintroduced to Siberia. Their outer guard hairs reach 2 feet long, hanging like a skirt to the ground. Underneath sits Kiviat, 15 to 18 microns of underwool, 8 times warmer than sheep wool by some measurements, lighter than cashmere. They survive temperatures of -70 Fahrenheit. They've been on Earth for around 600,000 years, and shared territory with the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed cat. Nature looked at the woolly mammoth and said, we can do better. Make it shorter and add detachable wool. Kiviat is roughly 8 times warmer than sheep wool by weight, and the animal sheds its annual prize fiber for free, every spring, in clumps the size of dinner plates. Kiviat also doesn't lose its insulating property when wet, unlike sheep wool. A musk ox can lie on snow at 50 below zero, and the air layer trapped under that 2-foot guard skirt and inside the Kiviat undercoat keeps it warm enough to chew cud. The coat is a portable habitat. The whole body plan is a leftover from a glacial climate that no longer fully exists. They're walking around in Ice Age survival gear, in the warming Arctic, with a fiber so efficient, it's still ahead of anything textile science has invented. Despite the name, musk oxen aren't oxen. They're not bison either. The closest living relatives are takins, and more distantly, goats and sheep. The Ice Age ended 14,000 years ago. Nobody told the musk ox. Every other animal on this list pays for its coat. In metabolism, in grooming, in conspicuousness, in being hunted for it. The musk ox is the only one whose coat costs almost nothing per unit of warmth, lasts longer than civilizations, and falls off by itself. It's the closest any animal has come to free. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.